On tonight's Cult Pop, we're going to Dearborn, Michigan to check out the World Steampunk Convention and visit with our old friends, the COG. You remember them, they're crazy, they're zany, great fun. Later on in the show, Jeff Carlson, an incredible author. Absolutely love having him on the show the last time, brought him back for his short story collection. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cult Pop. I'm your host, Jim Hall, and I'm at the beautiful Dearborn Hyatt Regency in Dearborn, Michigan for the World Steampunk Convention. And basically I came out today because I heard a strange rumor that I couldn't believe. A few years back, we had the wonderful band COG on our show. It got a great response. People loved the show. I was blown away by COG and the craziness that they brought to the show. But I heard a rumor that somehow COG was here at the World Steampunk Convention, and I thought, this is impossible. All the way from New Orleans to here. But lo and behold, I come, and Dr. Pinkerton, is it you? You look much different from...
Professor Pinkerton. I have no idea who it was that you interviewed, young man. But, well, if it was my infamous grandson, I take great pity on you.
Well, I believe it was your is it great-grandson or grandson?
Oh, grandson. I am Milo Reginald Pinkerton.
Oh, I see. So you must be from the past, I assume.
Well, yes. You know, words fail me, but when I found the fabulous time portal from New Orleans to this strange time and place, we took it. We have no fear of adventure, young man.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I understand that you come all the way here. There was a performance on Friday. Sunday, you're going to do another wonderful performance, and you've brought a bunch of misfits with you that I don't recognize any of the misfits.
Yes, so, these people are experts in their field, starting right here with Colonel Edward Turnipseed, retired.
Sure, says you.
We've got our main chief engineer, Michael Bolton. I'm sure that name will one day become famous as a result of his great achievements. To Sir Muradai, this is a gypsy whom I found floating down the Amazon in a hat box. We have raised her and taught her how to speak partial English. So this right here is Spicy McLummix from the Highlands. And leaning upon him was Rene Constantine Struction, my bodyguard, and the captain of my fabulous airship, the Universitas Victim.
That's really his best side.
I think he might have had a few too many on the trip up.
Too many what?
Rums?
Too many is never enough for him. No, he thrives on alcohol. It combusts in his chamber. Also, coming up over here is Velma Quinn, the illustrious Velma Quinn, who I believe, rumor has it, has hypnotic powers that we dare not discuss.
Oh, hypnotic powers. I'm very intrigued by this. And I'm still a bit concerned about your bodyguard.
Don't be concerned about him. He's like this much of the time. He has to recover, of course, you know, between bouts.
Yes. He disguises himself as a rock.
Tell me more about these hypnotic powers. I'm very intrigued.
Well, the hypnotic powers are triggered by this special parasol, which I invented. Show the parasol there. Yes. Shall we demonstrate its hypnotic effect?
Please do, Professor.
Ah, yes. Well, what happens is that we start performing this type of music that we have invented called hypno jazz. And the viewers and listeners become entranced, mesmerized, as it were, by its strange, hypnotic rhythms and syncopated sounds. And pretty soon, presently, they lose complete control. I believe I hear a strain of music now.
I do believe I hear music. I didn't know if I was being hypnotized or what. I thought I heard music, and then, my God, it's very powerful.
Yes,
very powerful.
Tune, we have copyrighted that tune, and one day we shall benefit most richly from it.
This actually works now.
What does?
One of your inventions actually works?
Quiet. I'm a fabulously wealthy man and have deep pockets for funding my inventions until they actually work.
Well,
Professor,
you might be fabulously wealthy, but you don't pay us enough to tell us to be quiet.
Quiet. You know what awaits you.
Professor,
the road to adventure is paved with many ruts.
Your great-grandson or grandson also had many inventions, but many of them seem to fail, so I'm glad to see that you've got some inventions that are working.
My grandson has sullied the family name. He is the blackest sheep of the Pinkerton clan, and I have you know that we... Quiet, none of this. I shall have none of these dastardly... Quiet.
Now,
they're unruly. They have had too long since their last imbibition, and also gustation, which shall commence after this interview.
Now, Professor, I understand that a tour has been going on as you come up from the south, the deep south.
The
and come up
deepest
to
south.
and you come up to the north here.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about the tour.
Well, the tour is by airship, of course. What is going on over here? Yes, our
he's got a
airship,
case of the horrible, sir.
the Universal. Oh, wait a minute. I've got something to cure him. Here, hold this. What he needs, obviously, is a dose of my great new product here.
Oh, Pinkerton's.
Pinkerton's Nerve and Brain Elixir.
Oh.
Yes, a shot of this poured liberally all over him.
Is it booze?
Well, it
He's already
contains
liberal enough. by
it
the
contains
looks
at
of
least 190% proof alcohol, as well as various serpent oils, which I have personally distilled into this beautiful looking bottle, I must say. Here, hold this, and then we shall see. We shall see if it cures him. Yes, there you go. Very good, yes.
my
Excellent.
goodness.
Seems awfully
It's
potent.
already taking an
Professor,
effect.
that's very potent.
Yes, it is extremely potent. It is a blast, you might say.
It smells a bit like cat urine. Is that?
Quiet. That's the secret ingredient. We mustn't tell everybody about the secret.
Professor, it
Ingredient.
seems to be working.
See, it has revived him almost instantaneously. My elixir is made of the finest ingredients, all of which, except for one, are baneful to human health. Good, very good. Put it down. All right.
Now, Professor, my understanding is that the other day, the old cog performed.
Old.
The
What do you term
incarnation,
old, young
the
man?
incarnation that I am familiar with, I should say, performed.
If
now
you're
I am to
talking about
understand-
my grandson, I'm sure nothing went right during that performance.
Oh, no.
In fact, that bumbling idiot probably forgot the words of his own lyrics. He probably bungled the order of the songs that he was trying to dispense.
Oh, no.
I'm sure nobody in that meager audience was hypnotized. No.
Bang on all cylinders, sir.
We shall correct these problems.
Now, tell me about the new performance and what to expect.
Hypno jazz, the most entrancing form of music ever known to mankind. It is what we traffic in, and is what you will experience when you see a performance by the confabulation of gentry.
Oh, the confabulation. So, hypno, I'm intrigued, confused, and scared all at the same time. Tell me more.
I think what we should do is talk to my fellow compatriots of the
Please.
Universitas Victim. They will tell you what they are about.
Excellent.
Professor Turnipseed?
I play the guitar. It's a very nice Spanish guitar that I sort of appropriated from
okay.
a man from Spain.
All above board, all legal, I assure you.
And I pluck the strings with such tender veracity. It sends forth a mellifluous, if you would, resonance into the crowd that lulls them into a state of hypnotic stupor.
Indeed,
sir.
indeed. These people are all experts, handpicked and selected. Let us ask Michael Bolton here.
Yes. What did you want to ask me?
Well, how is the maintenance regimen on the Universitas Victim? Are the steam injectors still dirty? Have you taken care of that yet?
I made them dirtier.
And what about the mellifluous music that issues from your melodica?
Oh, it's real easy. I just blow into it, and when it's not enough, I add some steam into it, and then when that's not enough, I blow some more.
The height of scientific achievement, I will tell you.
Yes.
Now then, I hesitate to ask, can you offer a couple of words?
Trombone?
Trombone, yes. That is what she traffics in. That was the first word of English that she learned.
Oui.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? Il y a un trombone du orchestra sur les lames de plume? No. Obviously not. All right, she's still recovering. Now then, Velma Quinn, what do you do to your audience?
Hypnotize them vocally.
And when you're not hypnotizing them after the performance, what happens?
After the performance is when the fun really starts.
Oh, no.
If you know what I
I'm
mean.
not inclined to give that secret.
Ah, yes, a woman of discretion, great discretion, I may add.
That's right.
I
that's
only
right.
employ
All
the
it
very
takes is
best.
a couple of,
Now then,
cheap
Renee Constantine,
baubles.
how's the Gatling gun coming along? I see. That is very, 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 very worrisome. Now then, Spicy McClummix, have you located the shillelagh?
No, sir, I haven't. I apologize.
Well, have you at least tuned the mandolin?
I have done that. Unlike these unsavory buggers over here, I am a man of strong repute.
Watch your language. you
And
railroad
strong
track lady
odor,
dick.
I may add. Now, as you can see, these ladies and gentlemen are among the finest, hand-picked personnel that I could possibly procure under the great budget limitations that I have to deal with.
They seem a bit discombobulated and a little bit off, but they seem like they're going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
It
come
has been a
performance
long
time.
airship journey. It took at least, 4 or 5 days to make it, 1,200 miles, I do believe.
And did you not stop and perform in some states, is my understanding?
Of course, of course. We dock at many strange places, theaters. Oh, yes, yes, yes. We dealt with that little
It was
problem.
practically like performing in a third world country. I was about to look for some help.
But of course, compared to this place, almost any place would seem a little underachieving, wouldn't you say?
Indeed, Professor. Now, something that we have in our technology, as you've traveled forward in time, is something called the internet. And I know your grandson had a website to promote his band. Do you have a website or anything that you would like to tell the crowd, the folks at home who are watching Cult Pop, so they can learn more about you?
Ah, yes, an internet. I do believe that you folks have rigged up the internet that you throw down from the airship and ensnare people, fishes. What have you picked up on this internet?
Syphilis?
Yes, yes, of course. He picks up a lot of diseases for study later.
And a cow? Did I hear a
Cow?
cow?
We have ensnared a cow. Very well, we shall feast tonight.
Well, that's not exactly what I meant, Professor. I thought that maybe you'd want the people at home watching this. See, people are actually going to watch this, not just
Really?
the people here, and they might want to know how they can learn more about your band or order records, for example, records on the record player or
Oh,
CDs.
an Edison cylinder.
Yes, exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
We have recently issued an Edison cylinder by the name of Taco Supremo.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, it is a recollection of the writings of the conquistadors. Yes, they journeyed to this state of Florida, and they expedited the expedition deep into the Everglades, and they located a tasty delicacy that was brought up from Mexico, I do believe.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Professor, I don't think you quite understand what I mean, but I will make sure that our fans watching the show will be able to get a hold of you through our website, because we also have nets and things to lure fans, and we'll do what we can to make sure that our fans can contact you and
Very
vice
good,
versa, vice versa. But I want everybody to be able to say one last thing, a goodbye and everything, as we have a couple minutes left. So I want you to tell your fans at home who are able to watch this now both on the internet and on television, anything, as obviously they won't be able to see Sunday's performance, but I'm sure you perform in New Orleans still, and I know that there's all kinds of great records. Remember records? You have records, don't you?
Oh, we have a record
Professor?
of every achievement we have ever achieved.
Spectacular.
I have many patents upon many interesting inventions that we shall eventually claim, and sue those who have stolen from us, like my ill-bred grandson.
Oh, no. I thought your grandson was quite nice, and he did a wonderful job on the show. I've got
Nice!
to-
Ha, well, if he's being nice, then he's already sullied the Pinkerton family name.
Oh my goodness!
Idiot,
Oh my goodness!
idiot.
Now your crew's looking a little restless, like they want to say a few things before the segment's over. So
Let me pass around the microphone, which I personally invented.
In speaking about this interweb thing, if anybody would like to contact us looking for work, I could always use a few more on the plantation.
oh my goodness! Oh no!
Well, I just gotta say, it doesn't get any better than when I sing "When a Man Loves a Woman." So that's my next single. It's coming out soon.
Very interesting. You better
Very
copyright
interesting.
that. Copyright that right away.
And the long-haired mullet, but you've taken that one.
Mullet.
Goodbye.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Can't wait to please everyone orally. That is AURALLY.
Oh my!
Of what?
Yes, you have
Oh
something
my
caught in your
goodness!
mind.
Oh my goodness!
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Reginald Pinkerton is a scam artist and a sham. Do not support.
What are you talking about there? No, get away from me. Oh. I must apologize. These people need to be fed before they mutiny. Again, A little quinine perhaps might suit them well.
Professor, I must say I'm concerned about such an uprising with that.
They simply haven't taken enough elixir yet. But a generous accommodation of juices and spices, and they shall be right as rain, and shall not rise up again in mutiny against me or my airship.
Well, Professor, I know this is a weekend of celebration.
Thank you, bodyguard.
Bodyguard he does have your best interest in mind.
Yes, he does.
I like that.
He's on it. He is on many things.
Professor, I must say it's been a joy to have you on as much as it was your grandson, who was also wonderful. I wish you the greatest luck in your endeavors, and I hope you have a wonderful time here in Michigan. Thank you so much for being on the show.
And
sir.
I wish you the best of luck, too, with this interweb.
Thank you very much.
And my grandson, if you ever encounter him again, tell him this. Die! Thank you. Thank you very much.
I will do that, Professor. Well, folks, that's what more can I say than just another strange meeting with the Pinkerton family. That's all I can say. Stay tuned for more Cult Pop.
And keep listening to Hypno Jazz. Hypno Jazz.
With me right now is Jeff Carlson, and we're real excited to have Jeff on. Jeff was with us, you'll remember, about 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, and talking about his trilogy that we enjoyed so much. And Jeff is back with a great little science fiction collection, Long Eyes and Other Stories. And it's a fantastic collection, and I promised that when he had more stuff out, we were going to rush to get him on. And so Jeff is on. And Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show again, buddy.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I like to be here.
Really enjoy the hell out of your work. You know that. We're big fans over here. My director, Jerry, and I both love your work, and I like to spread the word of your novels as much as I can to my friends who are science fiction enthusiasts. And I was really pleased to see that you decided to come out with a short story collection. And sci-fi, specifically with short stories, seems to be where they're pushing that out. I don't see nearly as many collections as I used to, and that's what got me reading as a youngster, getting into science fiction. I was reading the short stories, and so I was so happy to see that you have a collection. And Long Eyes really just absolutely runs the gamut of different type of hard sci-fi, just all kinds of different great little stories in there. And all of them are of the length where you can just pick up the book, knock out a story, put the book back down, go about your business, whatever you have to do. And that's what I loved about it, that you can knock out a story in 10, 15 minutes, go about your day, knock out another story, and fans at home are going to finish it in a day, I'm sure, because it's so good, and want to reread a couple of stories. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to do a short story collection, and then we'll talk about some of the individual stories.
Well, thank you. I like you for liking my work. That's cool. You know, I'm exactly the same as you, my friend. I got into this crazy business reading short stories at the beginning, so I was pretty excited to get my my own little collection going on here, because it's kind of old school. That's how it used to be back in the glory days. You would start off writing short stories, hone your talent, your abilities for voice, character, plot, all these things. Start forming working relationships with editors. Just getting deeper and deeper into the scary waters of science fiction, and then you start trying your hand at novels, which are much more complex in a lot of ways. I actually brought a couple of my favorite collections right here, which Joe Haldeman, John Varley. These are some of the greats of my youth. I mean, I've read all the Asimovs and Heinlein and Bradbury, but these were the books that I kept reading over and over, and they've all every story's got a really nice idea. But like you said, you can get through it quickly and then move on to the next really cool idea.
When you did the foreword for this book, I kind of thought it was neat because you talk so much about that the publicist said it wouldn't work, and the publisher, and this person and that person, but the people that wanted it and really requested it were your fans. And I thought that was really cool that you did this book for your fans, and you talk about it so much in the foreword. Talk a little bit about why you think fans enjoy the short fiction so much, and why this has really been so popular, because you've gotten great feedback both on Amazon, your website and all that. It's getting rave reviews and a lot of positive feedback.
Well, it's the science fiction is the literature of ideas. And again, the short story, the short story usually has one cool idea. You can have a B story, like a subplot. There should be a little bit of a character arc. And then, writing a short story is pretty tough because you got to have that cool idea. You got your B story, you have the character development, and these things all need to come, together by the end in a space of, 30 to 50 pages. That's a pretty big juggling act. I think people who read science fiction, Jim, are smart, usually educated, usually with an imagination, just curious about the world and people and science, the universe, the whole thing, like how it all works. And so the short, the science fiction short story, that's the quintessential form of the genre. We could talk a little bit more about short story collections and maybe why there aren't quite so many of them these days. Everybody wants to read, the 600-page doorstopper novel that you can get into and spend, 2 months of your life reading. You get to stay with the characters, be with the characters. As the writer, you spend like a year and a half or something writing this giant doorstopper. But as a writer, short stories are fun because you can knock them out. You get to have your one big idea, a couple cool characters, some snappy dialogue, and then bang, you're done. And it's the same thing, in our busy 21st century. The ideas. You're on the bus to work, you're sitting in traffic, you're at the dentist's office, whatever, you can just read the whole story. It's not that year and a half investment of your life with, the cast of characters, there's 50 characters to keep track of and stuff. It's just a short, sharp shock.
Well, that being said, let's jump right in because you've got some real winners in this collection, Long Eyes and other stories. And let's jump right in. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the title story, Long Eyes, which is a really, really cool story. Talk a little bit about that for us.
It's actually it's not it's not a ripoff. It was sort of inspired by a classic golden age story by James Blish, which was Surface Tension. And if you haven't read that story and you're a sci-fi fan, go and read it. It's a little bit dated now. It came out, back when the women all had nice little wasp waists. I can never say that. They were all wasp waisted, and well endowed. And they were all like, "Help me, Flash, help me!" And then Flash was the steely-jawed superhero, who could save us all. And it's about a story. It's a colonization story about like a lost crew on a bad planet and bad things happen and they come up with some really interesting and science-based solutions to their situation. These are the kind of stories, again, when I was an impressionable young boy, you'd read stories like James Blish's Surface Tension and they would just stick in your head. I probably read that story, 10 or 20 times now over the years. And when I started writing my own stuff, I was hoping to capture that same sense of, there's that faraway sense of wonder. And again, the characters are intelligent people doing the best they can in bad situations, as opposed to, my favorite example is in The Evil Dead, which is an awesome movie. But right, you're in a lonely, haunted cabin in the middle of the dark woods. All of your friends have been eaten by zombies. You hear a noise outside, and wearing only your panties and a t-shirt, you walk out into the forest going, "I know somebody's out there." Come on, right? So if you can have characters who are intelligent and do intelligent things, but still get into trouble and then have to work their way out, that's exactly the kind of stuff that I want to capture. That's how I'm trying to conduct my own life. That's what I admire about people, in the real life, in news. Just even more mundane things like, my neighbors with your everyday life. How do you deal with it? Let's try and be pragmatic. Let's pay attention. Let's assess the situation, make a decision and move forward and keep working with it. I try always to have my characters, especially my heroes, be that kind of people. That's not to say that the world isn't full of idiots, and sometimes they get to be the bad guys. I try to make the bad guys as smart as possible too. I guess I got a little off topic. So with Long Eyes, I don't actually write that much far future, way off in deep space, those kind of stories. But when I get to, it's a pleasure. I mostly write like near future tech thriller, this could happen tomorrow, kind of hard science fiction. But when I get to play with aliens and spaceships, it's just an absolute joy. I mean, it's fun. And again, if you try and bring in all these elements, smart people, bad situation, what do you do?
Yeah, it's a very fun story, and it's a great way to kick off the book. Now, maybe we could approach it this way. In the introduction, you talk a little bit, and the back of the book discusses how many of these stories were stories that were, it's a collection from everything from things that appeared in Asimov to all kinds of different solicitations. Are there any stories that are real special to you? They're all special, but are there some stories you really want to discuss? Or I think there were one or two stories specifically for the collection. Is there a couple of stories we should highlight here?
Well, you mentioned off camera, you mentioned to me the Julie Buchain stories, and there's two of those, and they did appear in Asimov, which is just exciting. I mean, this is a magazine that I used to read when I was a boy, and it's still going strong. Now I'm in the table of contents, sharing the table of contents with many of my childhood heroes. I mean, it's just mind-bogglingly cool. The Julie Buchain stories are actually set in rural Montana, where I have cousins and uncles, and we visited for Thanksgiving, and got to drive around. It's an awesome place to go. The highways just go and go and go, and they're straight as a ruler. And I haven't been there for, man, I don't know, like 15, maybe even 20, 15 years now. And I hope the law is still in place. The law used to be that if you got pulled over for speeding, out there in those wide open stretches of highway, you would just give the cop a $5 bill and he would send you on your way. Because it's still sort of the Wild West up there, and it's much just more things are more relaxed in Montana. Where I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and every 10 feet there's a speed limit sign, and as there should be. There's just way too many people here. So these stories are set in Montana, and I have a smart, spunky, sexy heroine, who's kind of like a super MacGyver. She knows how to do everything all the time, and she keeps getting into trouble. And I've always liked these stories because they're set in my cousin's backyard, with my cousins, kind of like the rural, the rural setting and the rural culture. And then again, they're a little bit fun. They're kind of fun and sexy stories. And so much of my stuff is just dark, like the Plague Year novels. Dark.
Yeah, Plague Year was very dark, and
very
this seemed a lot more lighthearted.
A little bit. People, like the heroes in Plague Year are murdering cannibals. When the heroes of the novel are murdering cannibals, it's going to be a dark ride with Jeff Carlson. And Long Eyes is pretty dark. It's about just people being lost and helpless, and yet trying their best and being able to overcome those problems, but at what cost? How much do you give up to still be human and be good? The Julie Buchain stories, I was just delighted that Sheila Williams at Asimov, she said, Jeff, can you write another one of these stories? And I did. And I have a third one that I've been dying to write, and it's just been stacked up with projects. She's a fun heroine, and it's just a little bit out of character for me to be writing this. But I'm actually a fun guy. I'm a fun life-loving person. I just have this dark streak, I guess. So those stories were a lot of fun. And then again, like you mentioned, there's a couple of horror stories in the collection, and Jim, those stories are horrific.
Jeff, any sci-fi fan definitely needs to pick up your short story collection. I absolutely love it. I want to tell my fans, go out and pick it up. I really, really enjoyed it. But something I really enjoyed was your Plague Year trilogy. Absolutely amazing. We had you on to talk about the first two novels years ago, and the third one came out, wrapped it up beautifully. I just wanted you to have a couple minutes to be able to talk about that for new fans watching the show, and tell fans about your website and whatever else is going on in your world.
Well, there's a strong, capable heroine in the Plague Year trilogy too, and I like to think she's a sexy, spunky heroine as well. But like we were talking about, the book opens and 5 billion people are dead, and 90% of the nations on Earth have been wiped out, and things kind of go downhill from there. Those books are a lot of fun. I mean, it kind of comes back to the same idea, the same nuances and mood of, like the James Blish story, where you're backed deep into a corner. What are you going to do about it? The exploding helicopters are fun. The gunfights are fun. The gore is a little bit fun. But for me, the real essence of these stories is always about, the human intelligence, their cleverness, the grit, how are you going to work your way out of this stuff? So, you know, because I get to be, I'm not just the chess master, I'm also the guy that creates the chess board, you know, the whole setting. I get to play the black, I get to play the white. And so I'm constantly trying to, you know, maneuver both my heroes and the bad guys in like the worst possible situations that I can get away with, and yet still have a few people be alive. So the Plague Year trilogy, in each book, you know, in a series, you're always trying to outdo yourself. And the problem is, again, if you open the book and like the entire world really is just gone and there's a few survivors stranded here and there in the mountaintops, how do you outdo yourself with that? And so, you know, the second title is Plague War. You know, there's, you know, now boom, now we got a world war on top of all of this, and then Plague Zones. I mean, these books it's a great job. This is a great work if you can find it, right? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, I enjoy reading them, so I'm glad that you keep on doing this. Wanted to mention to the folks at home that all this stuff is available on Kindle for folks that like that. And real quick, before we wrap up, tell everybody about your website.
I got a shiny new website full of shiny new stuff. It's at jverse.com, like Jeff's Universe, jverse.com. You know, there's free excerpts for the novels, you know, a couple free selections from the short story collection. There's videos, there's contests, you know, there's dancing elephants. There's not dancing elephants, but everything that you need for Jeff Carlson, it's there on the website.
Okay, Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show. Really enjoy your work. I'm glad you took the time to be with us again. And as you have more books out, we'll have you on. So thanks so much for being on the show. Folks, thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you next time.